Uh, I called this video the Grape Cigar Wrap uh, issue, because the smell of the grape cigars makes me cigar wraps make it makes me nauseous. Um, and because I don't like the smell of cigars, and then the grape cigar wraps are like sort of compound that issue. And um, as I was walking, this is like the third or fourth time I've made efforts to uh to video journal about my what I just experienced, because today has been like uh such a espionage day, and the espionage that I'm surrounded by on a constant basis, and how they act like comedians and play dumb and whatnot. Um, the fact that I've made the correlation between activity that I've experienced here at these apartments, uh, and the corresponding uh, time period, the legalization of marijuana back in 2005, and the things that I experienced, and they had to reconnect me into the thing, because everything, and they know that by doing that they're creating a trigger phrase or a trigger word, and they're using me to create a trigger phrase. um However, I'm just going to continue to video journal, because um when I'm told and set up psychologically and say, well, I can't do this because, and I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I, and as a as a resident of a community, to sit back and just say, well, I can't, and they just, and blah blah blah. It's like a big fat mother hen sitting by, letting all her chicks get away with all kinds of stuff, and then telling the innocent one, oh, sorry. um the the great rap issue, the great cigar rap issue. Um, Again, there's something more to there's more to even what I just experienced this morning in my experience of someone coming in while I exited my apartment, and the in your face sort of um, people who are involved and surrounding. Um, I have to re create, because those very important discs were stolen from me this morning. So my psyche's being dragged all over creation and whatnot yet again. And it's intellectual theft, it's emotional stability theft, it's theft of my psyche. And they smile in your face, like, and send stupid little messages on the side saying, oh, you've earned a gift card, as if. um and the difference is that maybe they don't consider me a valuable resident, even though they're finding it so important to get in my apartment, and they're trying to control my digital life, and stealing information from me that I have um, constructed as in my memories, connections that I've made with events that have taken place here, and events that took place in and at Bear Valley Village. And then as I'm walking into back into my apartment after this really huge issue, um because of what my 13 years old, and and having complete access to your personal life since you were uh, not for me, because I was documenting stuff from. I'm just trying to get a background information, and they're all again all in place already. Um, so to try to get and convince me that you don't have a clue of what's going on, or maybe have some kind of lack of knowledge, either because you don't care enough about being part of a neighborly um, interaction, and because you're too guilty to. So the first thing you want to do is find the fastest thing that you can find to throw back. Oh yeah, we got that race card still. Um, the and I've gone, and another thing that was on there on my and again, the whole time that I was trying to transfer for the purpose of transfer files from my desktop to my to the external memory drive, is so that I could free up some information. And then again, even in this, there's something to learn. There's something to learn, and then the first thing they want you, and and all it cost you was all of the information that you've reconstructed about your own personal life for the purpose of uh, rehabilitation of your own intellect, emotions, and which so many people were trying to deny, had established that that and I have to now reconstruct everything again. It's like you're writing a novel in a little kitty cat notebook, and somebody steals it, and you're trying to reconstruct what you wrote. But for me, because it's a reconstruction of my personal life within my own identity, and there's my fingerprint, um that and all the alias people, and all the tactics, and all the everything that you have gone public with, and made files about. Now all of your personal work has been stolen from you yet again. And there's only one, or actually four or five. There's like five or six very specific and very obvious at this point reasons why my identity is more valuable than a gift card. and the fact that I, even within that, and I don't want to start on that because that's way more petty than me having land ownership rights in Colorado too. And it's as though I'm training an FBI team who is has been laying around for the past 20 years. And I don't want to be part of the comedy team. So the one the one person, one of my neighbors who I see on a more regular basis now, who I hadn't seen when I first moved in, um, resembles a neighbor who lived like 3 doors down from me, um, at a place called Windsor Valley. Only that was 1,600 miles away. And 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 the guy who was walking up saw them going in. So maybe he was trying to establish, um, without apologizing for calling me a bitch and making the issue at the time that I was trying to uh connection, and to diplomatically see by way of neighborly conversation, without having the race card thrown at me. And I have a right to do that. And if he takes it personally because his skin color is different than mine, again, I think that represents that he's racist, not me. But then a few years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, when the Black Lives Matter started, I was hearing, oh, Black people can't be racist. Oh, really? Because that's not my experience. Just long story short on that one. But um the fact that I recognized him at the time, not from here, but it's like, gosh, he has a familiar face. Why? I know I haven't seen him around here, because this is what I go through psychologically each and every time I see someone who reminds me of somebody else. It doesn't matter what their skin color is. I go through it with every person that comes in my path that I recognize facially, and I need to, for my own mental health, that the next time I see them, I can be past that and say, okay, well, that just looks like that person. But if somebody's first thing they want to do is throw the race card issue at me because they're assuming that it has to do with their skin color and not the fact that I'm trying to establish a neighborly connection, so that um, when stuff goes on, or if stuff goes on, I can say and knock on my neighbor's door and say, excuse me, did you see anybody go in my apartment? Because, and I didn't mention to the person that I know someone has entered my apartment and done things in my apartment that, because there are certain little things that were moved. And again, most recently, I'm not going to go into it because I'm tired of feeling like I need to I need to defend my when I'm doing everything I possibly can for my mental health. And I don't need the race card thrown at me because I don't watch the local news anymore for all the stuff that the local news advertises about what's going on in Denver and right here in Boulder. And why should I have to defend myself because I'm trying to establish neighborly connections uh, so that nothing goes on in my building? Or because if do, do you not want people entering your apartment while you're gone? There's nobody standing over there. Because uh I just am trying to make neighborly connections so that I can knock on somebody's door and say, did you see somebody enter my apartment? Because da 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 da. Because when I call the police, they say, oh gosh, there's nothing we can do. Um, so then you start wondering about the level of integrity of your local police department, not my local police department, but the local police department. And you start to question the integrity of the leasing company, and you start questioning the integrity of your neighbors, and it's just like being in a homeless shelter, except for you have a door and a lock, and you have privacy in your own place. However, when you leave, it still feels like uh, uh, every man, woman, and child for themselves. Um, and I just feel like establishing neighborly connections. If my neighbor came over, because when I was at Bear Valley Village, my neighbor over there, finally one day I went over there, I needed a ride to work, and then I found out that he might have been involved in some of the stuff I was experiencing. um and I had gone over there and said and I asked him for a ride to work the day of the accident up the canyon in 2005. And and while we were riding in the car, at some point, I remember every specific conversation. And am again, identity theft is intellectual theft and memory theft and all kinds of other things. And at some point, I had asked him, and again, I hadn't had very many conversations with him, but but the so I can't remember exactly when I had asked him, "Hey, Drew," and I didn't talk that familiarly with him because I didn't know him that well. But I was running late for work one day, and I didn't have my car. What the heck was the circumstance? That's strange because right now I can't even remember the circumstance. I didn't have my, it was after the accident. No, it couldn't have been after the accident. maybe that was why he was so angry that I knocked on his. I was going to. Oh, it was a different job. That's right. I was beginning to question my own timeline. It was a different job. It wasn't. It was after the accident, and I was going up the same road, the same canyon as the accident, but I was working a temp job at Genesee Park, and I said, and I told him that people were getting, if somebody was getting in my apartment, was he experiencing the same thing? And he said yes. Um, uh, so that kind of thing, like, it, if you don't want somebody getting into your apartment, and because of what I was already experiencing, and now I'm coming back to my apartment, and this guy, and now I'm like realizing where I recognized him from, because it was like as he was being arrogant and ignorant to me for no reason whatsoever, other than maybe he was thinking I was being nosy. Maybe he was participating in some kind of activity that he shouldn't have been participating in. And the fact that I was already experiencing things in my apartment that were moved around and such. So, in my level of thinking, I'm like, I got so much processes going on right now, dude. And you want to throw the race card at me, and because uh, you can't see past the difference in our skin color to even try to, and yet that's what you're accusing me of. So this time I'm like looking at him, and like I said, I recognized him, and I knew it wasn't from here. I knew it wasn't from here that I recognized. So now I realize where I recognize him from. And he looks like the guy who helped move my sofa from the ground floor apartment to the third floor apartment, which was Mal Goplin's former apartment. And um, he smoked, and the reason I remember him, one, because at that time I remembered thinking to myself, oh my gosh, that looks like the guy Keenan from Keenan and Kel, whichever one it was. I don't know, because I didn't watch that show. Um, and so, like, I made a mental note then in 2005 when I had asked him and two other guys if they could help me move my sofa. And he said, he was the one that spoke up and said, sure, we can help you move your sofa. That's a gangsta couch. And I remember him saying that. And I was puzzled at that comment. And and um and he said, yeah, we can help you, and but uh can you get us a pack of cigars? And I said, well, how old are you? Because I don't buy cigarettes for minor age people. And at that time I hadn't even started smoking again. Um and he told me how old they were, because to me they looked like they were about, borderline Miles. I knew was, and the fact that, was Miles there? I can't remember if Miles was one of the guys. I don't think he was. Anyway, so the cigar thing came. There was a mental note made. So when I noticed this guy, um, bird, and the way he was holding that his cigarette down there was like, and then I'm like looking at him, and I'm like, okay, so he's with her, but still, I'm like, I know I recognize this guy from somewhere, but it's not from here, except for the issue a few months. Then I knew I recognized him from somewhere, but I couldn't place where. Um, and then I suddenly realized that he looks like the guy that helped move my sofa and asked me to get cigars for them in exchange for them helping or actually moving my sofa. And it's also irritating. It's irritating to feel like you've been like your life, you're fighting for your identity based on your own experiences and your own, and because everything has become such a commodity and has a price tag on everything, that uh, that the whole, the motivation of the game is to get the other person to find you more valuable. This is like one caveat of of what I'm calling the game, and it's not fun. Not to me, it's not fun. It's not fun that these people who think that they're so covered by cartel connections and street gang connections and guns and violence and heinous activity. It's not fun to be in a situation where you're surrounded by all these types of people who participate in a game of constant uh, what they call anarchy, but it's not anarchy, it's corruption. Anarchy, when you think about anarchy, you're you have a principle in mind, not just of being the top player. Um, um, and when I say when I say principle, I'm talking about like an ethical stand, an ethical uh anarchy is about standing for something other than corruption. So should I be an anarchist the same way they are and find a way to get into their apartments when they leave? I have no interest in that game. None whatsoever. They have nothing to offer me. And yet they want to psychologically invade every part of my psyche, and they're stealing from me belongings, material belongings, identification, intellectual property. They're stealing from me, and yet they want to convince me that their identification is more valuable than mine. Then why are you needing to steal? Why are they needing to steal my stuff and get? Why are they needing to? Because my identification, my innocence is more valuable than anything they could have to offer me. And they being whoever came in and took my or took my or who has my any copy of any of my identification documents, original copies or otherwise, or original as in my birth certificate that was printed from the birth certificate office. um it's to me they're actually undermining their own psyches, their own existences. They're negating their own ability to create a stable situation for themselves. So while they're stealing from me and having fun, like it's so fun to access my intellect, I'm going to access theirs back by stating what and restating what I'm experiencing and what I think the strategy and the game is so completely stupid, and that it's befuddling to on a level that they're sitting back laughing up their sleeves at me. I'm like, what do you find funny?